And so it was a challenge to try to figure out what ones were going to make the cut, because it's not just the songs that you think are the best. They all have to kind of make sense and create some sort of musical statement or like cohesive nature. And and I've always struggled with that with the band and everything. We've all been a fairly eclectic band, and so even more so with just me here. So so part of it was to road test some of the songs and see what songs really work the best at their most stripped down and kind of elemental, just like standing in front of someone singing it, what felt the strongest in that way, and then to sort of build up from there. I'd like to build on these solid foundations. So it was partly that. It was partly just to kind of get on the go and get back, on, well, it wasn't a stage, but on stage, so to speak.
Right.
And to see. It was a test because I know I can do it. I've played alone many times, but in a weird way, it was a test playing this sort of raw, this sort of exposed in people's living rooms. I did a show there in Lewisport there at the Citadel House about a month ago, and so it was a lot of shows like that. Just there by yourself, no effects, nothing, no lights or anything, nothing to cover, no fourth wall, and so part of it was just to take on that challenge, which I've always found.
Yeah, I was at that show. I think I bought the first tickets, actually. Full confession.
Nice.
It was fantastic. And as a music lover, as a fan, those are the places where I love to go and get my live music fix. And so Citadel House is a big part of my life here in the province, in the town.
Sweet.
It's amazing what talent has come through that venue, and including you when you came through there about a month ago. And so I can understand, and I hear from the artist as well that that's something that they enjoy doing as well, because people are there just to really listen to the music, right? It's music immersion, that's it, and there's no other, and it's intimate, and it's a lot of fun, and I really enjoy listening to music. So I'm glad that you shared that with some people out there so that they could experience that. So now, with making music, you said writing was pretty much impossible when you were with the band because of all the people. I understand that would be prohibitive in some way. But when you're writing a song now, you're writing it for just you. Is there a different approach to it than if you were writing it for the band? Do you take that into consideration now? Do you do it differently because it's just a solo, you singing it?
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, part of the reason I had so many songs was because I think the band gave me a little bit of a restriction in terms of what was like a song that would be successful, like at what we could do as a band. Like I was writing for that project.
Right.
And so I had some constraints as to like the sort of, I mean, we often didn't actually remain very constrained in the band. We used a lot of different sounds, but sort of wrote for the character of the band and sort of the people in the band. I was writing for what, like, songs that the people that I was with, that Adam and Josh and Phil and Romesh and Kinley Mara would enjoy. And
right.
So it was like writing for them, kind of. And then when you remove that, it's just like writing for me. I like everything. So it was very, very
right.
difficult. But I, and it was also the first solo record that I've ever made. And so in a way, it was sort of just deciding what the sound of my whole future was going to be. Not to get too dramatic about it. I try to sort of not, but that is kind of what you're doing as well. With the band, we never really, we just were playing little shows around St. John's, and it just got bigger and bigger. Before we knew it, we were touring across the country and signing record deals and making videos and everything. And sort of we were always like, we deliver the record, and then it was the record that sort of decided what we would sound like. We never made any conscious decision like, oh, we're going to sound like this, or we're going to do this. It just sort of happened very naturally. And sorry, on the phone, I'm getting text messages here. Hang on.
That's okay.
And so when you're starting out, like I learned how important the sound is and how important it is to sort of have, to fit into a box, because this is how people digest music. They, you have one song, and
Right.
the industry wants all your songs to sound kind of like that one song, so they can put you here and hey, if you need this, if it's raining in Toronto, listen to this. If it's sunny in Lewisburg, listen to this. If you're feeling this way, listen to
Right.
this. And when you're eclectic, it doesn't really work. And so I knew the importance of that going into it. And so that was added pressure, being like, I know that it should sound kind of like one thing. Now, what is that one thing going to be?
Right.
It's very difficult.
Yeah. No, I'm sure it's a completely different. It's a mindset thing, and it's interesting how you come at it from a different way. Now you can be a little more strategic and a little more thoughtful and say, okay, well, now what do I do? What's Tim Baker going to be? And there's some power in that, I think, but there's also, you're the one doing it, and so it could be a little daunting in some way. I'd like to switch it a little bit. Let's talk about songwriting, but I've been thinking recently myself about art and social issues and social justice and the role that art plays in our society, and speaking, to the problems, and how as artists we have, with an audience, we have the opportunity and maybe the responsibility to speak to those issues. And I'm wondering, do you feel that responsibility, and do you have particular concerns or social issues that inform or inspire your writing?
I do feel that responsibility, and sometimes I feel like I can't figure out the best outlets, for positive change, and which is the best place to put my what little energy I have left after being a musician and a writer and everything,
right?
And to try to make things better. I've done a little bit of work, I've done a bit of work as a spokesperson. I was just writing an email actually to this great biodiversity sort of NGO that works with farmers and subsistence farmers and seed savers in the global south, called USC Canada. It's a beautiful organization.
Very familiar with them.
So you know them, okay? Yeah.
Very, very familiar. They're a wonderful organization. Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
I've done a bit of work with them. I'm going to be a spokesperson for them further down the line. We did every now and then we would do some fundraiser stuff as the band. We would get asked to do a fundraiser probably 3 times a week. And so eventually we had to say no to the vast majority of them, unfortunately, and just choose the ones that we could do. And so that felt both miserly and maybe sort of, actually I ended up feeling more miserly than not, saying no to everybody and then saying no to only a few. But as a necessity, we always tried during our Christmas shows. We always gave sort of money away. It was always hard to decide, how to do it, and what you can't speak up about everything. If I sent a tweet about everything that I felt was wrong in the world, or every sort of possible solution, I think people would unfollow me very quickly. I think people follow me because they want to know if I'm going to play around them, or if I got a record or something out that they can enjoy. And so I try. It's hard. I try to keep that to a minimum, I think. But sometimes you just can't help but speak out about something.
And do you weave those things into your songs? Do you sort of put the messages in there? And,
absolutely.
Address it in other ways. Yeah, it's.
I try to. It's hard to write a song. About the policy the erosion of democracy, in municipal
Right.
politics in Toronto or something.
Exactly.
Which is very much happening. It's hard to write good music about policy, but
right.
these things are always on my mind, of course, and I mean, I'm obsessed with the environment. Like, I think about it all day long. I think about those polar ice caps melting every moment that we're speaking, and ways that we can try to save ourselves, save the future. And so that definitely comes up in a few songs that I've written recently, but the way to do it is to not preach about it. I
Right.
think, I have a song that I don't think I played it in Lewisport. I very rarely play it, but I have a song sort of about truth and reconciliation and about residential schools, and I think just things that touch you and that concern you. They can't help but find their way out, sort of, but I try to do it in a way that will sort of welcome everybody into it.
Yeah, and the environment, I always, I moved back here about going on almost 6 years now, and I look around and I think, how can you not be concerned about the environment when you live in this place? I mean, it's just so beautiful, and I try to do all the things and be responsible, but some people are not, and then it's like it gets frustrating sometimes, and but I think it's very important that as artists, I was involved in an environmental cause, over the past 5 years, that the people that stepped up to help us the most were the artists. So that was, I think artists tend to do that. They tend to pull from all of these different things that are going on around them, and they feel them, and so that it has to come out in your music or in whatever art you create.
I guess that's it. Yeah, you're just open to things and open-minded to the connections between things. It seems pretty obvious that we need air and water and food.
It does. And
I
when
know we're all distracted, but
yeah, I mean, when you take it down to that very basic level, what human doesn't want clean air, clean water, and clean food? Like, it's just the most basic things that we do, right? And so the policies and the issues feel bigger, but it's really quite simple, So yeah. And now the province, you've played in Lewisport, you've played in Twillingate. Were you in Bonavista? No, you're playing in Twillingate.
No, I was in Bonavista. I'm coming to Twillingate. Yeah.
You're coming to Twillingate. So obviously the province, this place, informs your work and inspires it as well. Growing up here, you're not obviously writing Newfoundland music, but it has to be in there in pieces, right?
Yeah, it always has. It has to be. How can it not? I used to get asked this question all the time when we first started, how Newfoundland affects our music, because it was always the talking point, up on the mainland here. Like, oh, they're from Newfoundland. That's interesting. We'll ask you about that. My answer was always just like, I don't know. I mean, I'm in it. I don't know how
right.
It could not, like it is where I am. And so it's always been, it's a big part of me. I can't wait to go back there now in a week and play those shows. Playing Twillingate and Botwood, and then over at the Fogo Island Inn for the people staying there. I think, I don't know if there's tickets for that one.
Oh, wow! So you've recorded on Fogo Island, right? At some point, were you guys not on Fogo Island?
Yeah, we did it. Yeah, we did a series of live recordings, videos out there. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I love it out there, of course. I got some family from out there a few generations back. So, it's obviously a pretty cool situation they have going on out there with Short Fast and everything.
It is. It's
cool. I honestly, I feel like I write more about Newfoundland since I moved to Toronto about a year and a half ago. It's strong, so strong have a strong nostalgia, but it's just so strong in my imagination. And when you get to go back, when you get